Hello, this webinar is for the month of March for the high school assessment implementation meeting, and we're going to go through the PowerPoint and the resources that we discussed on March 15th, 2017. So let's begin with the PowerPoint, and I will share that with you. This is also available on the website under March implementation meetings. So let's get going. As always, our purpose is that we work better together, so it's important to share information with each other, and we do a good job of that, so please ask questions and support each other. The agenda for this particular meeting is as follows. Just kind of a brief summary and feedback on how ACT went, also looking at last-minute details for WorkKeys. We'll also look at the climate survey, suggestions, etc. for that. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about the forward exam for grade 10, which is social studies only, the Aspire assessment that's coming up, and an update on the Civics test and the changes that have taken place there. So let's get going. First of all, I want to say congratulations. The student climate survey was a very outstanding success. As a district, I think we hit 83% participation, which is awesome. If you are interested in your building's final participation rate for both students, staff, and for families, please let me know and I'll send you that information. The data that is coming from the survey is still being worked on. It is a very large data set, and it does take a little while to work through that and find meaning in all of the information that was shared. So that will be coming out at a later date. By the way, if you can, we did change things this year as far as how we implemented this. If you have suggestions for improvements, both in the language of the survey and in the way it was rolled out and given to students, please let me know. We're continuing to look for better ways of providing service to you, to families, and to students. Let's take a moment and connect about the ACT. We did do the ACT on February 28th, 2017. There were changes in the transportation process. We've discussed a little bit about how that may be improved for the future. It did seem to go pretty well. We will get information to each of the schools that request transportation, a list of routes and who might be on that. You might have to put those students on those routes, but the day of is a little bit difficult for some. As far as food is concerned, you have to continue to work with food service, Steve Youngbauer, on that. And if you have any suggestions for preparing students for the ACT and the school, etc., for that particular day, please let me know. Oh, wrong way. All right. The WorkKeys. We're going through a period right now where you should have received all the WorkKeys material for the makeup testing date, which is Wednesday, March 22nd. So if there are any questions that you have about that, if you're not getting information, please call ACT right away. Just was looking for any feedback on how staff and students feel about separating out the WorkKeys from the ACT and not running them back to back. Given no negative feedback that is really serious, we will likely continue this process in 2018. The makeup date, the similar date in March of 2018, happens to fall on the 21st, which is a district, the Board of Education mandated no test day. So we would likely be using the emergency makeup date for the WorkKeys test next year. That would be sometime in April. If you still need to do some training, there are training videos available on the ACT site. You can log in, take your staff there, and go through the pretty well done videos. Also, just another reminder that students can do the demographic information on the test on WorkKeys the day of the test. So it's not a must-do before the test kind of thing. Now, the Wisconsin Forward exam, just remember that for high schools, 10th grade only, it's social studies. There are 2 sections. You absolutely need to do both session 1 and session 2. They call them sessions, which is different than Aspire. So make sure that you do that. The approximate time for completion is 90 minutes. We found that last year it's closer to 45 or 50 minutes, but that's what DPI is telling us is the approximate time. The tickets that you have received or will receive, if you haven't already, will work for both of the sessions. Please keep in mind that it's one ticket for the entire session, 2 sessions. The test administration manual, called TAM, has been released, and in it, on page 17 or 18 approximately, is a script to follow. So the proctor has something to read at the beginning of the test and takes everyone stepwise through the assessment. If you need practice, we'll take a look in a few minutes at the online tool training. This year's 10th graders are the last group to go through who have not actually done the forward test yet. So the environment for this test is new to them. They have experienced the Aspire test, but they have not taken the forward test yet. Now, as with any big testing season, we typically have some opt-outs. If you get an opt-out request, you must send that to either Sarah Wallner or myself. We cannot assume that testing is the student is opted out without that information. Now, remember, the opt-outs come in written form only. That can be an email or a note, a physical note. Regardless of that, you can forward the email to either myself or to Sarah. If you get a physical note from a family, please scan that and send it on, or make a physical copy of it and send us the copy. We don't need the originals. Remember that we need to have this information so that we can complete the testing administration process. And I'm going to pause. Okay, we're going to continue now. I apologize for the interruptions. So make sure that you get your opt-out information to us in a timely manner. Now let's take a look at the online tools training, which is where you will find a practice test. There is no practice test per se. It was on this particular site. So we're going to switch over to another screen and we'll take a look at that. So the practice test is on this page. It is connected. You can find this on our Wisconsin Forward Coordinator's site as well as the public-facing side. There are a couple things. If you take a look at the lower portion of this and the online assessment tutorials, which is in yellow text, and click on that, it will take you through to some video tutorials for students. You'll notice that they're fairly short. The longest one is 7 minutes. So if you have students who need to, you can certainly take them through these videos. On the other hand, I'm going to just back up a little bit. If you want them to actually practice the test or some of the questions and how it works, you click on the white text, Online Tools Training. That will give you a choice then of which content areas that you want to look at. Of course, in 10th grade, you will be looking at social studies, so I'm going to look at that. And then the login screen is it's identical to what the students will see when they actually get their tickets and log in. They will have a specific username. I am going to log in using the username and password given on this particular screen. And then this is what their test will look like. It will begin with their name on here, their ID number. They continue, and they will have a choice of 2 sessions to select. Obviously, we'd like to have them do the first one first and the second one second. When they've completed one of the sessions, the first session, let's say, it will become grayed out and it will no longer be a choice. So I'm going to click on session 1. And then it takes students to a directions page. These are the general directions. Now, there are a number of screens that they go through. If students have stacked translations, which means Spanish over English, it will double the number of pages that the student sees. So if I believe there are 8 or 9 pages of directions, they would see 16 or 18 pages of directions. Keep that in mind. I don't want to have that put anyone off, but just it's a reality of this software. I would suggest that the first time through session 1 that you as a group take students through this. It's a fairly self-explanatory set of directions, but it goes over every single tool that's available to all students. Highlighter, sticky notes, magnifier, etc. The line guide, etc. Hints on how to resume and pause, end the testing, and here are the directions for where the social studies test, and then you begin by answering the questions using the pointer tool. Finally, you get to notice the green button down at the bottom, begin the test. So here are the practice questions. These are not the type of questions, they're similar, but these are not obviously the questions on the test, but it allows students to actually look at it and answer. So in the first one, I can choose a letter, I can move on to the next question, I can continue to choose, or I can use the not this choice tool and move back to the pointer, next, etc. Now, when they're done testing, one of the important pieces is that they follow the process to actually log that they have completed it. Otherwise, it will have a not completed portion. So this is a review, and it shows which questions have not been answered and which questions have. They notice the bottom, return to the questions, or end the test. Since testing is only on Chromebooks, oftentimes what happens is students look at this and say, stop, you done with the test? Yes, and they are done. It is critical that students click the submit button on this particular screen so that it actually closes out the test. The vendor does not consider a test complete until the submit button is clicked. Now, this is for the online tools training, and it's not what they would see, but it gives you a sense of this whole process, gives you a sense for where they would, what it would look like. All right, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint now and take a look at the next piece here. All right, you should have received tickets. Try as we might, the vendor still insists that tickets are 8 to a page. They're alphabetical. Since you're only with 10th graders, they're all 10th graders. Please make sure that you hang on to them, that they are considered to be secure documents. So please treat them as such. Don't leave tickets sitting out where students can grab them, etc. They are secure. And when you're all done with the testing, when all the students have completed things, you should shred them. They are not to be just thrown in the garbage can. They need to be shredded as other secure material. If, however, you find that you have a student or students without tickets, please call us in the Office of Assessment Administration and let us know that. It could be that they've just recently arrived. Somehow they were missed. We've been very careful to make sure that we get all students, but it could happen. All right. Report that everybody looks for constantly when this kind of testing goes on is something about how answers the question of how do I know where students are at, which ones have completed, which ones have yet to complete. So when you log into our eDirect website, this is the vendor test website. In fact, we'll take a look at that. There's a report that allows you to look at some specifics about students. So I'm going to move to that report now, and we're going to take a look at that. So here is the DRC website. Please keep in mind that it's very similar looking to the access test. It says right up front, this is eDirect. It also says Wisconsin instead of WIDA. The report that you're looking for falls under the Applications menu, and the Student Status Dashboard is what you want to look for. So clicking on the Student Status Dashboard will take you to, as soon as it comes up, the Student Status Dashboard. Now, you will need to put in your school name, and it will come up with Memorial High School for this year at the bottom, last year at the top. So I'm going to click on last year because it does show what this report will do for you. You will get graphic displays of who has completed and who has not completed of all the students. You can toggle between the graphic display and the numeric display, but it is a very nice report that should at a glance tell you who is not completed. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the content area. Again, this is social studies for 10th grade, so it's not too important which content area or assessment you're looking at. But towards the bottom, I want you to notice that there is a export this report to a CSV file. So you can use Excel to actually move students around and sort them. At the bottom, there is a list of students, and you can check on their status. It will also show start and end time and how long it took them to test. So this is the report that is available. I think you might find that very helpful. So I just wanted to share that with you at this time. Let's continue with the PowerPoint now. Again, right now, what you would find is that the status is all red because no one has started testing. And again, here is the bottom portion. Student names would be down here. All the students, you can sort by status. So not started, completed. There is not an in progress portion, so you have to kind of monitor that. So if it's not, at least what we've seen, my guess is that there will be an in progress, and it will probably be a yellow bar. All right, remember that the forward test is only on Chromebooks, and there will be an app in the lower left-hand corner that will be called the DRC Insight Online Test app. Let's move to Aspire. The deadline for getting all the English language learner supports, etc., into our office was this past Monday, the 13th of March. We need to have this as soon as possible because the following things will happen. We are going to start completing the personal needs profiles for every student. And what that will also do is to create test sessions for those students who will need large print or Braille tests. Those students need to be put into sessions, which we will do in our office, and that automatically triggers an order for that particular specific document. Also, we'll be working on those PNPs up through and including March 22nd. So that's the WorkKeys day. So while you're busy with that, we're going to be busy finishing up on this. On the 23rd, you can begin to put students into sessions for ACT Aspire. The sessions work needs to be completed by Friday, April 7th, so that we are able to print tickets over the spring break. We'll begin that on Monday the 10th, and we'll get those to you as quickly as possible. They will be color-coded by content area. So reminder that the Aspire window opens on April 24th, so after spring break, and it closes on May 26th. Please let us know when you're working on Aspire, when you're planning to. Also let your building technicians know because they will need to ensure that the Chromebooks are all ready and ready to go with the app loaded, etc. So let us know when you plan on testing. Contact your tech services folks. Just a reminder that beginning May 1st, the advanced placement testing will be up and running. We'll be working on that out at the Alliant Energy Center. Sarah will be out in the office for 2 weeks. She will be having minimal access to email, so that is probably need to avoid that if at all possible. But as far as our support for you, May 2nd and May 4th, we will both be out of the office, both Sarah and I, providing support for advanced placement tests. So we will not be able to respond quickly. If I'm proctoring a test, I cannot respond at all until the test is over. So you might go a couple hours without any response. Please understand that we are busy with other tests and that we are going to get back to you as soon as possible. The civics test, just a reminder that the civics test is to be completed at school under supervision of a staff MMSD employee. It's important that we are able to say that the test has not been compromised. I have told the assistant principals that we will pay for the proctors extended employment. Please let me know if you are planning on doing this, and I'll get a project number to you. So if there are any questions about this or other assessments, please let us know. Here are the phone number and email. And I just would like to say thanks, and I appreciate the hard work that's going on in all the buildings. So until next time,